Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. We caught up earlier today with our friend Mark Chalmers, CEO of Energy Fuels. They're building the US Critical Minerals Hub at their White Mesa mill. They also announced yesterday the NEO agreement there to enable them to extract and process rare earths from monazite. Exciting developments there. He talks us through how they've got to where they are today, because they're up 6 times from the lows of last year, finally cracked through the $1 billion barrier, which we predicted, Canadian admittedly. And we're quite excited to see what they're going to be doing this year on the rare earth side. But let's not forget they're also a uranium and vanadium company. So lots to talk about. If you want our views on that, the conversation, Mark, the company, all of the above, you can find that at cruxinvestor.com/club. We can also find detailed company reports and analysis. There is commentary from experts from around the world on a variety of commodities and companies, including our weekly uranium show, which you might enjoy. We also have training courses on there to help you with the diligence process. We've got summaries of all the interviews that we've done just to save you some time, because we know you're busy. And if you want to join a thriving community of investors sharing their ideas and thoughts with each other in a nice, friendly, safe environment, free from trolling, abuse, and judgment, go and join them at cruxinvestor.com/club. And we'd love your feedback too. So do give us a like, it'd be appreciated. Leave your thoughts below. We'll get back to everyone. And if you want to see precisely what we talked about today, do take a look in the description below. Mark Chalmers, how are we, sir?
I couldn't be better, man.
I kind of guessed you'd say that. I saw the press release. Congratulations.
Yeah, no, thanks. Well, we've been moving quick, and we announced we were getting in the rare earth business in April of last year, and we haven't even come up on a year. And I think we're burning some real rubber here. And I think the market is finally taking note of the way we're executing our strategy, the efficiency of the strategy, and the depth of the strategy as we go forward here.
Okay, so share price has rocketed. I think the market, I say, has reacted. They're seeing and listening to what you're doing here. Are we going to still talk the language of we're still fundamentally a uranium business with some vanadium, and we happen to be doing a little bit of rare earths, or are we now a rare earths company?
Well, I think we're a critical materials company. And, I've always said we're first and foremost a uranium company. I mean, that's where we've got a long history and track record there. But the rare earths, the introduction of the rare earths has just been fantastic. I mean, it fits so nicely with our core business. So, when we process rare earths, we're recovering uranium. So we're by no means trying to become something else. We're just trying to capitalize on the unique position we're in with the White Mesa Mill and what it can do.
Yeah, well, it's interesting actually, but the rare earth component has really caught the imagination of the marketplace, because we've got all this EV thematic going on, greener investing, but also cleaner supply chains. We've heard the language of critical minerals, security of minerals. This is all helping feed into what you're doing. I'm sure that language is feeding into what you're doing. But are you surprised at how quickly this has taken off for you?
I think I am a bit surprised because, I'm a bit of conservative. We knew we could move forward quite quickly, but at the same time, I'm very pleased with the inbounds that are coming in and people that are interested in the monazite plan. The monazite plan is a differentiator from others in the rare earth space, because our ability to handle the monazite sands that contain uranium, the uranium ore that we can process. And I'm very surprised at the level of interest that we're getting every day when I come to work or during the day. I never know who's going to call me, and I never know what email is going to pop in, but it has been very exciting with people that are taking note of what we're doing around the world.
Okay, we talked last time out about the Chemours deal with the monazite, and we'll probably touch upon it in a minute. Also, I want to talk about this press release. I want to get into the details of this NEO Performance Metals agreement that you've got. But you intrigued me. What do you mean inbounds from who?
Well, I think inbounds from people around the world that are involved in the rare earth business. inbounds from groups that could have interest in our products over time. We had an inbound the other day from a significant automobile manufacturer that called us. And, I think that's a significant reflection on the appreciation of the progress we're making. And as I said, the monazite plant, as our focus on, the best sources of rare earths and uranium, as, our plan as being our main focal point as we take these first few steps forward. So, I think that there's some substantial endorsement of what we're doing and how we're doing things. And Matt, as you know, I have this phrase, I know what I don't know. And the people that we partnered with, the pedigree of Chemours, the pedigree of Neo, Jack Lifton, Brock O'Kelly, and Constantine, and that is going to continue. We're working on that right now. And, I've said this to you before, people that say we don't know what we're doing, would not figure it out, that is baloney. It is baloney. We are figuring it out, and we are moving forward. Every step has a purpose to it. And if people like what they've seen with the Chemours agreement and the Neo agreement, they should like the rest of the year, because we are talking to a lot of other people. And it is our goal that we're going to continue to build this picture, so it's very clear on how we're going forward quickly and cost effectively.
Okay. When automotive companies get involved, but get your lawyers ready to deny any connection to Tesla. That's what I've learned over the past few months. Right. Let's talk about the actual announcement today. The agreement with Neo is to do what? What are both parties buying into?
Well, Chemours is mining monazite sands. We're processing the monazite sands into rare earth carbonate, but there is no separation. The next step is separation, and there is no commercial separation in the United States. So we had to go somewhere with that product. We either had to hold it or had to find somewhere that we could take the next step for separation. And Neo has their Silmet operation in Estonia. That's the only separation facility in Europe. And so that was quite a logical outcome for us, particularly with our association with Neo and Constantine and his team. So, we're able to come up with an agreement so that we can do separation of this initial material that we're getting from Chemours as we process it. And that helps provide some cash flow. So it's like a commercial pilot plant. It's large enough that we can prove this up at commercial scale, but it's small enough that it's still controllable. And what's really exciting to me is that with current rare earth prices, we'll actually probably make a little bit of money on this, which is, again, remarkable when we're looking at this first step. So it just fits nicely all across the board, and it shows the market that we are moving through these different steps quicker, faster, and using existing equipment that's available. And the total capital cost for these three steps is probably a couple $1 million. We did this with a couple $1 million for this kind of consortium approach. And I think that should blow people's minds away, because we used existing equipment, limited capital, and we're moving forward, at a rate. We think this is the first monazite material that's been mined, processed, and separated in over 20 years outside of China.
But why is Neo coming to you? This is what I want people to maybe, certainly be asking you. I'm asking you now on their behalf, which is, why is Neo come to you? They could have gone anywhere in the world, couldn't they?
Well, look, Neo has operations in a number of countries, including China. I think that and Neo is not in the mining business. So they get their raw materials from others. And I think they're just looking for an opportunity here to diversify some of their supplies. I don't think they have any intention of not using their current suppliers, but we just represent another source that's based out of the United States. So look at it. I think it just helps Neo have a little bit more diversification. And I know that Constantine, when I first met Constantine in April on the phone, we still haven't met in person because of COVID. Constantine was very excited about the monazite plan. And publicly, a number of times, he talks about it as a potential game changer in the rare earth space, a game changer. And I hope he's right because he's my advisor, but I think he is right. And I think, again, this goes back to what I said before. People are taking note of the plan.
So the game changer component is what the plant's able to do for you now, right? With this kind of, we'll call it a pilot. But how do you move it forward? What's that going to cost you?
Look, for making the rare earth carbonate at White Mesa, maybe we need to spend another couple, $2 or $3 million, but that would take us up to significant scale. It may be maybe 10, 15 times greater than we're currently looking at for making a rare earth carbonate. Now, if we eventually move into separation, and I think we will, and we'll still have an agreement with NEO to separate in Europe, but to move the next step at White Mesa, it will cost us some money. But again, the strike rate is going to be very, very competitive for separation. We don't have exact numbers right now, but we're probably talking $100 or $200 million or something. We're not talking billions here, Matt. So, we think that, again, our capital strike rate is going to be phenomenal going forward for full integration. And we also believe our operating costs, because the focus on this monazite sands, which is the highest grade rare earth feeds that you can get, 50 to 60% of total rare earths, is going to be extremely attractive as well. So we think, from a capital strike and an operating cost, we're in a very good spot. We do have to keep increasing the amounts of feed that we have coming in the plant, and we have a number of people that we're talking to right now that are interested in participating in that with us.
Okay. You're now a $1 billion plus Canadian dollar company. It's nice.
Yeah, look at it. It's we've gotten a substantial appreciation. Actually, everybody in the resource space has gotten a lot of lift out of those last few months, and as has a lot of the pure play uranium plays. And yeah, we're lifting a lot of market cap now. But again, I think that our plan to be a critical mineral or material supplier is different, and we have optionality over a number of different critical minerals. And I also think that when you look at the supply and demand projections for particularly rare earths, it's like 10% year on year for the next 10 to 15 years. I mean, uranium, they're talking about 1 or 2% year on year increase in demand, but rare earths is 10% plus. So, again, I think we're in a unique position, and, but we have to demonstrate to the market that we're worth that market cap, and we have room to grow. And I believe we do, substantial room to grow.
Where I was going with that was, if you're potentially looking at raising $100, $200 million, now's a good time to go out for it, isn't it?
Well, there's worse times to go after it. We're taking, again, our steps carefully, but I am absolutely convinced that in this market we're in right now, particularly with how we're building this initiative, that we can raise all the money we need for full integration right now, if we choose to. I'm not saying we're going to do it right now, but we could. And, we're still trying to put together some additional agreements, similar to the Chemours and the NEOs, and, we'll be building on that story. And if we need to, we can do it. And I think, again, for our shareholders and for the world to see that there's a quickly emerging, fully integrated rare earth supplier, I think that's pretty exciting, and I think that the world investors will welcome that, particularly a number of these ESG funds that are focused on sustainability and green energy. And, we would hope to grow that initiative with the market over time.
Okay, I can understand the cautious language, etc., but it's a really good time to go and raise capital. If you did do that, would you be expecting some help from the US government? Because again, they're talking this big language of critical mineral lists and security of access to critical minerals, or was that not really on the agenda?
Well, we did have this initial award from the government to do some work for them, and we finished that. Look, I think there's a good chance that we will get some support from the U.S. government because of how exciting and advanced we're getting our initiative. But we're going to position ourselves to where we do not need the U.S. government to support us. We can do it on our own. And that means we can do it quicker, faster, on our own. Certainly, if the government appreciates what we're doing and they want to participate with us, we're certainly open for that type of assistance. But we're prepared to do it on our own because we think that we will have the robust economics because of the plan that I've mentioned, the focus on monazite. That this is just a very unique spot that we're in, and it can carry its own weight if it has to.
Okay, and with just you reminded me with the Chemours deal, significant deal potentially in terms of revenues coming in, but not a significant use of the White Mesa mill, per se. In terms of what would be going through the mill, it's not significant in itself. Which says two things: says that you can go and get a whole bunch more deals or upsize your agreement with Chemours, and still not harm in any way your uranium business.
Yeah, look, there's some of the investments that we may make will just to ensure that the uranium processing capabilities, vanadium processing capabilities can operate independently of the rare earths. So we're not going to harm our core business, the uranium or the vanadium, but there may need to be some investment to make sure that we're able to keep the two separated. So, but look, when it comes to what we can address at White Mesa, the rare earths are small tonnages compared to traditional uranium processing. You're only talking a few percent of the mill's capacity, whether it be through the plant itself or its tailings facilities. So, the rare earths business is a real small tonnage business. We tell the market that our first goal is to get to about 15,000 tons of monazite feed, which would be equivalent to about 50% of current U.S. requirements for rare earths. So not inconsequential. But we certainly can go greater than that in time. But we do need to secure the feed. This is an initiative that effectively the Chinese about 3-4 years ago started focusing on monazite, and they were able to secure feed fairly quickly. We're hopeful we can do the same. So look, just watch the space, watch for more announcements, watch for the building story. And I believe that there are those that were not believers will become believers in due course.
Oh, I think they're well on the way to being believers. Your share price would suggest that. But one last question, if I may, around, and sorry to keep banging on about this one, but having interviewed a lot of rare earth companies recently, and we've got a few more coming up, it's the question around sort of disconnected supply chains, right? So you are talking the language of being the American critical minerals hub with White Mesa and some of the agreements that you're putting in place with people like Neo, like Chemours, and sounds like more coming down the line. Is that what you think your investors, institutional investors, are buying into? Do you think that's what people are reacting to? This kind of slightly anti-China, well, not necessarily anti-China, but just self-sufficient ecosystem, which the US is trying to create. This is probably the only way they're going to be able to deliver that, isn't it?
Well, that's my belief. If you look at the projections for rare earths, looking out over the 10 or 15 years, I mean, like I said, it's 5-10-fold increases. I think we're going to need all sources of rare earths, not just in the United States and Europe and in Australia, but in China. So, this is we're not focused on China. We're just focused on doing our business in the United States of America. So we think that integration makes complete sense. We think that, that because of our position with White Mesa, it makes sense to do it at White Mesa. So, we're just playing our game here, Matt. We're playing our game. We think it's a good game. And, we're going to keep doing what we think makes sense for our shareholders and for these critical material supplies. So, again, hate to repeat myself, watch the space. We're very excited that my team is just beside themselves with excitement because they see, the progress we're making. And so, I'm having the time of my life. I think this is once in a lifetime opportunity, if not once in a couple lifetimes opportunity. And we're going to make the best of it on every front we can, including the uranium front, including the vanadium front. And vanadium prices are going up again. So it's all coming up roses.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I'm glad there's not this kind of adversarial language that we saw with the kind of Section 232 uranium component, and it's a case of we need all of the above. So that's really good. But there's a kind of American ecosystem which you seem to be at the heart of. So, congratulations on the announcement. Thank you for taking my phone call. Also, I do appreciate that because I know it's been a busy few weeks for you.
Man, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. And, I think we last talked in mid-January, and we were around $4, maybe $4.10, $4.20 a share, and now we're around $6 a share. So, yeah, it's been a wild ride. But as I said, everybody else is getting a pretty good ride as well. So it's not just Energy Fuels, but we're just a different model than everybody else. I mean, there really isn't another Energy Fuels that I know of outside of China. We're unique on what we're doing and how we're doing things. And as I said, I feel completely blessed that we have this unique opportunity in front of us and we're able to execute our plans as quickly as we are.